everybody, and welcome. This is Speaking of Everything, and I'm Melba Tolliver. The topic of this afternoon's program is national health care reform. It is one topic that we have been covering at some length and breadth here on News 12 Long Island, and I have invited to join me in speaking on this topic two people with whom I have had some quite interesting discussions about health care reform. Dr. Arthur Birkin is a medical oncologist and internist. He has his own ideas about how the nation ought to reform its health care system. And Hugh Cleland is active in the Long Island Progressive Coalition. He is also a former a former professor of history, American and labor history at Stony Brook University. I want to begin with you, Hugh, picking up on the idea that this current debate about health care reform is not new. In fact, perhaps it would do us all good if we were to know a little bit more about the history of the health care reform movement, which goes back quite some time. There were some attempts in the 1930s during FDR's presidency and also during the presidency of Harry Truman to try to reform the health care system.
Yes, there were actually attempts before that, particularly during the period just before World War I, and it really bears on Dr. Birkin's expertise on the German healthcare system, because in that period when many reforms to sort of humanize industrial society were taking place, for example, it was during this period that the first Pure Food and Drug Administration was passed by our friend Teddy Roosevelt from Oyster Bay, a Long Islander, that the country considered adopting the existing German healthcare system, and this was enthusiastically supported by the American Medical Association. And it looked like it was going to come to fruition, and then we got in a war with Germany, and anything that was German was sort of naturally wicked, and so it was dropped. But at one time, the AMA thought that this would be a very good thing. And there were compelling reasons for it then. This was the...
Were they the same compelling reasons as exist today?
Well, there was a crisis. For one thing, no one would insure a steel worker. Nobody would insure a coal miner. Nobody would insure a garment worker, because garment workers worked under conditions where tuberculosis spread very easily. There were tremendous health problems in the cities, and so there was a feeling. And there was a famous case of Typhoid Mary, who was a woman who sold apples outside a grade school. And she wanted the apples to look nice, so she'd spit on them, and then she would polish them. And she was a typhoid carrier. And all the kids in this school got typhoid fever. It was a terrible thing, you know, easy to die from it. And people then realized you can't have good health for the wealthy and poor health for the people who surround you, because they're your servants, they cook your meals, they work in restaurants, you ride the subway with them, so that we're all together in this health business. And we see that now resurrected in the sense, first of all, that tuberculosis has come back.
Yes.
Something we thought we had solved.
We thought we had solved. And as a matter of fact, at some of these recent forums on healthcare reform, some of our local health people have talked about the epidemics raging now. Well, maybe raging is too big a word. Certainly, I don't think it's too big in terms of AIDS, but talking about measles, AIDS, syphilis, and tuberculosis. And it is surprising to hear that. Dr. Birkin, let me now get to you. You and I have had a few conversations about healthcare reform, and I was very interested in having you have a forum to talk to our audience about what you have found out for yourself and how you came to formulate what makes you support the German system of universal health care. Tell me how that came about, how this whole area kind of opened up for you.
Well, my primary reason in looking for a kind of healthcare system different than ours is because of the enormous amount of regulation that I, as an internist, am suffering under the Medicare system. And so I think, and my colleagues who practice internal medicine, more than physicians in other fields of medicine, physicians who are not as much affected by Medicare, I and my colleagues see the effects on one's practice of government regulation. And so I looked for a system where the government was not part of the regulatory process.
Mm-hmm. So what are the characteristics of this system?
Well, let me go back a little bit in history too.
Okay.
The German system for universal health care is, as I know you know, a very old one, the oldest in Western Europe. And it had its roots in the mid-1800s when Bismarck, who was first the Chancellor of Prussia, became the Chancellor of a unified Germany. And the story goes that he wanted something to unify the people in this new land. And in order to do this, he chose medical care as the means to make this unification. And so he provided a social system which had not existed in Europe before. And he provided a means for universal medical care, but more than that, he also provided a means for universal unemployment and universal welfare, and also instituted a retirement program such as our Social Security. The Germans have and have had for many years an insurance system called sick plans. And at one time, there were over 20,000 of them. Sometimes even a factory would have its own health insurance plan. By the 1920s, almost every German citizen was insured by one of these sick plans. And German health care was almost completely controlled by the insurance people, the lay boards of governors of these insurance plans. In the 1920s, the German physicians negotiated with the health plans, saying that if you'll give us the freedom to allocate the funds and decide how we are to practice medicine, we will agree to a cap on physician services to be renegotiated annually. And essentially, except for a few interruptions, this is how the plan has lived through the years to the present day.
From then until now.
From then until now.
Okay, now this seems a good point for us to take a break. We've gotten a little historical context for our discussion, and it will continue right after this break. Please stay with us.
Body, Mind, and Soul, across from Walt Whitman Mall, features a full line of natural vitamins with free nutritional counseling and a complete line of weight loss and bodybuilding formulas. Members buy one and get one free on nutritional products, books on nutrition, powers of the mind, and spiritual enlightenment, inspiring tapes, CDs, crystals, and jewelry, lectures on many subjects. Enjoy a great tasting meal at our Natural Food Cafe. Body, Mind, and Soul, 673-7373.
At Choice Seating, we have over 500 styles of sofas, chairs, sleepers, and sectionals, and over 2,000 fabrics and 250 leathers to put on them. In fact, after you've seen this commercial, you'll have seen about 100 of the different combinations you can create at Choice Seating. That's 100 down and 1,124,900 to go. Save 25 to 50% now during Choice Seating's winter clearance and get delivery in just 35 days. Hurry! Sale ends March 1st.
Exit Bank has an exciting new service for you, electronic tax filing. It's the fastest way to receive your tax refund from the IRS. Electronically file your federal tax return at any Exit Bank branch. Your refund will be deposited automatically in just 2 to 3 weeks. It's fast, easy, and safe. Call 979-8900 for details or stop into any conveniently located Exit Bank branch. Exit Bank, the best in banking value.
Today is a smart time for consumers to think of ways to save money. By insulating your home with JC Home Care, you can save as much as 40% of your heating costs. That's right, 40% savings means JC Home Care insulation not only pays for itself, but also puts money back in your pocket. Call today and receive an additional 20% off.
Call 756-5600 and our trained energy auditors will evaluate your home at no cost or obligation. So act now at JC Home Care. We really care about your home.
We're back with Speaking of Everything. Healthcare reform is the topic of this particular program. My guests, Dr. Arthur Birkin and Hugh Cleland, they have differing ideas about how the healthcare system ought to be reformed, and we'll hear about them in just a moment. Hugh Cleland, a supporter of the so-called Russo bill, and Dr. Birkin advocating that America take on something like the German system of healthcare. But what I want to know from each of you, just briefly, what happened, what occurred with your thinking and your seeing what's going on to have you make the kind of commitment that each of you has to really getting into this healthcare reform movement and doing the work that you're doing? I know you're very active, appearing at health forums, being at shopping malls, trying to educate people.
Yes.
What drives that commitment for you?
Well, it seems to me it's the key to many other problems that we have in our society. One reason we are not competitive is because our manufacturers' biggest outlay is for health care. General Motors or Chrysler spends more money to Michigan Blue Cross or Blue Shield than they do for steel or glass or castings or anything like that. Lee Iacocca is fond of saying that he has a plant in Detroit and a plant in Windsor, Ontario, 5 miles away, and he can make a car in Windsor for $700 less than he can in Detroit, because Canada has universal health care for everybody, and so it's cheaper. Now, that doesn't mean that Canadian health care or German health care is free. There is a payroll tax, there's an income tax on individuals. So what Chrysler can do is pay the Canadian taxes that support the system and still make a car for less than they do in Michigan. But there are many other things, you know.
Well, what you're saying is because you can see the interrelationship of healthcare to other aspects of the kind of lifestyle and quality of life that we want. What about you, Dr. Birkin?
I must take issue with you. You, that is.
With me or with you?
With
Okay.
you. With you. Because I don't think that our manufacturers' sales are suffering because of the cost of...
Okay, but let me just ask you, what drives you to do the kind of investigation you're doing, to want to convince and persuade some of your colleagues when you speak at these grand rounds, as you did, for instance, to Stony Brook medical personnel, doctors? What makes you want to do this?
As I said before, the major issue, I think, is government interference in medical care. And I want to get the government out of medical care. Right now, about 60% of the patients I see and 60% of the patients my group sees are in Medicare. Medicare can tell me that depending on a patient's complaint, I must spend just so much time with that patient, not allowing me to do a complete examination unless the patient's complaint indicated it. Now, this is wrong. This is against the precepts I was taught. Medicare tells me that I can't consult on a patient more than 3 times in the hospital. If I do, I won't get paid. Medicare tells me that an EKG can be read as well by a machine as I can do it, which is not true. And they will not, as of January 1st, pay me for doing an EKG. I want to get the people who don't understand what medicine is about out of regulating medicine. In Germany, the government is a conduit for funds. They are not regulators of physicians.
Okay, all right. So now I will let you and Hugh define how your advocacy of your different plans works.
Let me suggest another reason why Dr. Birkin should be against the present system, and the rest of us as well, and that is, you now hear talk, we got a magic answer for this, and the magic answer is managed care. And what that becomes is 1-800-MEDICINE, am I right? That is to say, you want to treat somebody and their health insurance company says, first you have to call 1-800, whatever it is, and get it approved by somebody who's sitting at a computer and is not a medical person and is there not to make the patient better, but to make more profit for the insurance company.
All right, but you were saying you disagreed with what Hugh was saying about manufacturing. That's where I cut you
Well,
off.
I think that really is an excuse, and I don't want to go into that, but it's clear to me, and I think many people who think about it, that it's not how much our automobile manufacturers are paying for medical care that's making their product unsaleable. There are many other reasons, as came out during the president's trip to Japan. So I think this is a red herring. And I think that it's not how much this country is paying for medical care, but how the cost is divided. And I think that it is not fair. There is no fairness. It's harmful to this country to expect small employers, new employers, small businesses to be saddled with medical care costs. And it's been well worked out that if we had a national health policy, a national health insurance, that the small employers would actually be paying less money than they are for health care, whereas the larger companies who can really afford it will pay more.
All right. Let me just make this distinction between the two points of view. You're saying, when you support the Russo bill, you are for a total revamping of the healthcare system. This is not tinkering around the edges. This is change, total and complete.
Well, I still plan to go to the same doctor and to the same hospital. I don't want to interfere with that. I want to have it paid for in a different and better way, and I want...
and you want there to be a single payer.
Single payer.
On the other hand, in modeling a program after the German system, you're not talking about that at all. You in fact are talking about perhaps starting with Medicare and starting in that arena to begin to change the American healthcare system, correct? You're not talking about doing away with insurance companies and...
Not per se, but the number of insurance companies would have to be limited. And the insurance companies would have to act as contract insurers, being paid for their services, but not expected to make a profit, as some of them now plan to do, some of them want to do now. It would not, I think, be a wholesale change, but nor, I think, would use IDEA. The major issue which the president missed or misrepresented last night was that with the German system, there is absolute freedom of choice. Freedom of which physician you want to go to, freedom of which hospital you want to go to, and freedom for the physicians to choose, and freedom for the physicians to treat. The issue of freedom has no place in this debate at all.
All right. Okay, so there are some other issues besides the issue of freedom. There's the issue of cost containment. There's the issue of whether or not you will have several tiers of care, and those are a couple of things that we can take up with my guests when we continue after this.
Affordable elegance and the grand tradition of the Manor East is yours. Plan your wedding at the Manor East and be captivated by Manor East service, cuisine, and attention to your every desire. At the newly redecorated Manor East, your wedding day becomes a memory to be treasured. From the moment your first guests arrive till the last note is played, nobody parties like the Manor East. And now, there's a Manor East wedding package for every budget. Call today, 799-0666. We're in the 9X Yellow Pages.
There's nothing in this world I wouldn't do for you, for you. I'd make a string of pearls out of the dew.
Foxy lettuce, crisp, mild, and nutritious. The pride of California's Salinas Valley. Every day, we put our reputation right on the table.
Hi, I'm Regis Philbin. When you deposit your used clothing in a St. Vincent de Paul Society box located all over Long Island, you're taking part in a wonderful humanitarian effort. St. Vincent de Paul provides clothing to marginal income people. Through income from used clothing, it supports projects like rehabilitation for ex-offenders, conservatorship for the aged and mentally ill, and halfway houses for drug and alcohol abusers. So when you think about donating your furniture or clothing, call the St. Vincent de Paul Society. Thanks.
Montauk, the department store for your floor. Price Parkway at Route 110, Farmingdale.
All right, now exactly, concisely how the German system works.
Okay. There is a payroll tax paid equally by the insured employee and the employer. It averages around 6.5%. So between them, they pay 13% per employee for health insurance.
13% of?
Of 6.5% of the employee's salary by the employee, and 6.5% by the employer. This money is collected by the government and then returned to the insurer, the insured plan to which the employee belongs. The money for health care is then portioned out among the hospitals and the physicians. The physicians are represented by a board of governors, as are the insurance plans. They meet, they debate, they negotiate. The overall physician's fee service cap is set for the year. It's divided into quarters. During that time, every physician in the state sees patients, writes down the diagnosis, and is awarded so many points according to a relative value scale that has been established for years at a national level. At the end of that quarter, all of these points for all of the services that all of the physicians have given to patients are then added up, divided into the fee service cap. The exact amount of money then goes back to the physician based on the number of points that he or she reports for the quarter. That's how physicians get paid. That's how patients get treated. All the patient needs to get treated is a little bill that he brings or she brings with him or her to the physician's office every time he or she goes there.
All right, the Russo bill, concisely.
Yes, these two plans have much more in common than they are different. The Russo bill also depends upon a slight increase in income tax and on payroll, the same as Social Security. It's really like Social Security, which incidentally we brought from Germany also. Our Social Security system is modeled after the German Social Security system. It's an efficient way, it provides enough resources, and then it is paid out by insurance companies who act really as dispersing agents to people who provide care. And then the bills of people who provide care And all of this could be done with the computers and wouldn't require the mountain of paperwork we have now. Could all be done much more efficiently. Physicians associations, who are very important in the Russo bill and very important in Canada, are able to monitor whether somebody is, some health supplier is abusing the system. So
And you say abuse is checked in much the same way in the system you're advocating,
Well,
right?
not really, Melba. Let's point out the differences, at least between Canadian medicine, French medicine, and the German system. The German system earmarks, absolutely earmarks the funds. There is no government hanky-panky. In Canada, as it is today, the money is taken out of taxes. There are not earmarked taxes. And the government, the provincial government, the federal government, can and have and do change the amounts of money that they are willing to expend for healthcare services. And they do it at their whim, not at what the public expects, not what the medical establishment asks for, but at their whim. Negotiations are done in Canada, but not between the physicians and the insurers, not between equals on a level plane for negotiation, but between the physician and the government. This is not equal, this is not true negotiation. And these, I think, are the major differences. Earmarked funds, funds which cannot be played with by the government, and negotiations with people who are intelligent about medical care needs, who understand the structure, who understand the system, not with the government.
All right. Hugh, in the about 40 seconds that we have left, do you think that, well, what do you think about the chances of getting some kind of health care reform bill in the Congress this year?
I think the chances are very good that there'll be some bill this year. I think there's a feeling that the public wants it. Everyone was electrified by the election in Pennsylvania, where Harris Wofford, used to be president of the SUNY campus here in Long Island, was supposed to lose badly, and he campaigned for health care, and he won handsomely. He defeated a popular ex-governor, so everybody looking for votes is looking for a health care plan.
Okay. All right. On that note, let me thank you both for being here with us, for helping set the context and a better understanding of ideas for reforming the healthcare system. Thank you very much. And thank you, too. I'll see you the same time, same place next week.
Authorities say America's toughest gangster hangs out in this private club. Now, Inside Edition takes you inside.